guys, welcome back to Pure Evil MMA. I have a very special guest with us here today. Once again, another Ultimate Fighter veteran. We got DeAnna Bennet joining us here today. How are you doing, DeAnna?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You know, there's so much to talk about with you. I've had a couple girls on from the season that you partook in. You know, Jillian Robertson, who just had her fight this weekend, kind of breaking the overweight curse. So I kind of want to start with the Ultimate Fighter, and you were on Team Eddie.
Yes.
Now you're in Invicta, but we're going to get to all that in just a little bit. Just to let everybody know what's going on right now, guys. You're coming fresh off a win over in Invicta.
Yes.
So we're going to get to that too as well. But let's start with the Ultimate Fighter. And first off, did you want to be on Team Eddie or did you want to be on Team Justin going into it?
You know, I wasn't too sure because when they didn't know the coaches until we were doing our first media day and we were sitting there and we're like, oh look, there's Eddie Alvarez. Oh look, there's Justin Gaethje. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And I was kind of split over which one I wanted to go with, and then I was leaning more towards Eddie's team, honestly, seeing kind of the first wave of coaches that he brought in there the day that they were picking teams. And, you know, my wrestling coach and who was one of my former teammates in Utah was Rad Martinez, who was college roommates with Frankie Edgar. And so kind of having that connection, I knew that they have similar styles, and that's what I was used to. So I was really happy that I got put on Eddie's team just because I feel like with my fight style, that was the best fit for me.
And did you know like a lot of the girls going into it? I mean, of course, there was Barb, and then Lauren, who's in the UFC. Then there's Sarge, did you know any of the girls besides, you know, Barb and Lauren?
So I knew of them. I didn't really know them too well. I think I met Ariel at actually at tryouts. Ariel back in.
Yeah.
I had known of her beforehand. I'd seen her fights. You know, I you know, fighting is my life. It's what I do. So I've watched all the Invictas. I like to keep up to date with kind of what's going on and who's around, competition-wise, that kind of stuff. I watch a lot of fighting, even outside of me doing it myself. And so, you know, I've seen them before. Hadn't really talked to too many. I had talked to some of them, like briefly when we fought on the same cards, but I didn't really know anyone too well going into it. And so I'll be honest, I was a little intimidated. In fact, one of my favorite things was like Sarge scared the crap out of me just because I knew she was a black belt. I knew she was tough. You know, she puts on that hard persona, and at weigh-in or at the tryouts, I was like, they better not have me grapple against her. Like that would just be my luck. Put me against the black belt, and then, you know, fast forward to we were on the same team where we're really good friends. You know, to this day, I'm really good friends. I just went to her fight last weekend, and, you know, that's my buddy now. And so it was just kind of funny. I didn't know them then, just kind of like, I'm not sure about these people, but, you know, it was great.
So everybody that's watching the video cast, they were actually seeing pictures of you and Sarge hanging out together. Fortunately, if you're listening to the podcast, you guys can obviously hop over onto the Pure Evil MMA YouTube channel. But yeah, it seems like you grew a real close bond to her. Even on her birthday, you sent her, and this is what made me love you a lot, because you sent her a picture of you two, your two fight on that season of Ultimate Fighter. So it was silly, you know?
Yeah, you know, it was funny because and she's the one who said it first. She's just like, you know what? Never in a million years would I have guessed that we would be friends. You know, we're from completely different worlds, completely. And, you know, she's like, we're actually very similar. We're actually good friends. And, you know, we've been training together. She's one of my main training partners. We both came and trained with Eddie's team out here in Jersey after the show. And, you know, she's, you know, one of my best friends around, and it's just funny how it came from that Ultimate Fighter experience. You know, I love her to death, and her family are just super great. And you know, it's kind of awesome. And of course I had to put a picture of her kicking me in the head on her birthday. I mean, that was like her first knockout, like shining moment. And I'm like, buddy, if nothing else, at least I get to be in your highlight reel. So you're welcome.
You know, kind of jumping through the timeline, you just said that you're at her recent fight, and, you know, just in case anybody doesn't know, Sarge made it to the finale, and unfortunately she wasn't able to make weight, but God had a plan for her, because lo and behold, she fights Lauren Murphy come this week, and she was able to do it not, you know, depleted. What did you think going into that fight? How did you think it was going to play out?
It played out very similar to how I saw it going. I knew Sarge was going to go out there. She had been training hard. Me and Caitlin Chikagian are two of her main training partners, and so we've been with her every step of this camp. And even before the one in December, we were training together for that one too. And seeing how much dedication she put into it, and her days in the gym, sacrifice away from her family, her daughter who just turned 1. Obviously she would rather be spending time with her, but instead she spent time in the gym prepping for this. And she went in there and she put on a really good fight, and it happened the way that it should have. I know she wanted to finish, and many of us wanted that to happen, but she got that win, and I had no doubts that she was going to beat Lauren, that's for sure.
So where it is right now with that division, the strawweight division, the season that you're on, crowned a new champion in Nico Montano. Now, do you think they'll give Sarge the shot next? There's also Valentina in the background. How do you think this win plays out for Sarge? Do you think that was enough to get her back to where she fought on that season to deserve that spot? She made weight good.
I definitely think that she deserves that spot to fight for the title. She should have had that shot in December. I really do like Nico, but I wholeheartedly believe that if she would have fought on that December, if the weight cut didn't go bad, that she'd be the one holding the title right now. And she puts in the work. She earned that spot towards the title on the show. And yeah, she had that unfortunate stuff happen in December, but she proved that she can make the weight. She proved that she's the top of the division, and she's earned her way there. Not just with the fight over Lauren, she fought 3 other fighters on the show, me included. I'm one of those.
Very tough fighters, yeah.
And I'm gonna say, not to toot my own horn, but she knocked me out, and she fought Roxanne. She earned her way towards that title shot, and I do believe that she deserves the next shot. If Nico's not in a spot where she can fight for it, then it should be, maybe Sarge versus Valentina as an interim title, and then whoever wins that one goes there. But I definitely think that her next fight should be for the title.
You were number 4 seed on that season. Where was Sarge? Where because I don't remember where Sarge was on the rankings or in the bracket or whatever.
I remember this very clearly because after her first fight, she fought Maia, and she went and she yelled at Dana White, "Number 12! Number 12!" And then afterwards, she's like, "Did I just yell at Dana White? Did I just yell number 12?" And I'm like, "You were very excited," and I think he accepts that. And definitely, I mean, you go off of rank, you go off of like records and that kind of stuff. That's kind of where they put that at, because she was 2-2 going into the show. Not saying that she's a bad fighter from 2-2. Obviously, she's not. She just fought really tough people, and just so happened to be the case as far as that goes. But she definitely proved that she's at the top there.
One thing that makes people a little nervous, I think, is the weight cutting, and I definitely want to get your take, because this year, especially, it seems like it's nothing new. I mean, fighters are missing weight. Even on the season, Ultimate Fighter started to cut some of her dreadlocks off to make weight.
Yeah, she.
What are your thoughts on making weight? Especially at this level, it's very important. And when you're in the top 5 or even the top 10, let alone the top 15, you need to come in on weight because it makes people nervous. What are your thoughts? Because then when the videos come out, you see what the fighters are going to. So what are your thoughts on weight cutting and proper weight cutting?
It's a rough thing. I've had my problems with weight cutting in the past too. It's a fact of the sport. There's so many people out there saying, "Oh, there shouldn't be weight cutting. You shouldn't do this." Most of those people haven't been in this type of competition before. They're just outsiders looking in on it. Unfortunately, I don't think that there is a way of completely ever getting rid of it. There's just ways of being more smart with it. And that was one of the things I saw with Sarge with this last fight. She started from way far out. She managed it perfectly. It's never a pleasant experience to go through that weight cut, but she did it responsibly. And look, she made the weight, and it's hard. I used to cut down to 115 with Invicta back in the day, and there were times where I thought I was gonna die. actually did this one little documentary series, Why We Fight, and it shows me making my last weight cut to 115, and I'm like face down on the ground after coming out of the tub, like barely alive, face sunken in, like I'm not even sure I knew what was going on at that point, you know. And that's why I made the decision that I was going up to 125 at that point. You just kind of have to feel where your body is, and you know, 115 is not good for me. It might be good for some other people. I just realized my limitations, and you just have to be smart with it, and you have to be on top of your game. That's why, you know, fighting isn't just, you know, a sport that you play. It's an entire lifestyle. And that's the way it should be. If you're starting from a long time out, you're keeping yourself healthy, not bouncing your weight up, you know, it's not that bad. You just have to be in control of every aspect of your life, basically, if you want to be able to compete and if you want to be in that top. And you know, obviously it's tough, and I obviously, you know, Sarge made weight this one time, and some people are happy about that now, but they're like, oh well, she made it now, she's not going to make it to the next one. And so unfortunately it takes time to build that trust back. But you know, it is what it is, and there are ways of doing it healthy. And it's not something that's going to ever go away. It's just part of the sport.
Well, look, I mean, Dana White and everybody, they opened up this weight division to try to help that situation. But what you see happening is people who think they can now make that weight that are going to come down from a higher weight class. Like it doesn't just go away. Just the cycle keeps
No.
going on.
Exactly. You have people that maybe weren't doing so well at 35 where we're like, well, if I cut down, I could make 25. And so it's going to happen. You just have to know kind of where you're at personally. It's on a case by case. You know, it might be a good idea for some people to move weight if they can do it healthily, and if not, maybe stay where they're at and just work on other aspects there. But anyone who says, oh, they just need to get rid of weight cutting, that's great in theory. You know, world peace is great too, but is that ever going to be achieved anytime soon?
And just to update everybody, the UFC is now going to be getting rid of the early weigh-ins as of this week, I guess. What was your thought on the early weigh-ins and how they were going about that? Did you think that was helpful or not?
You know, it's funny that that came up because I was actually having this talk with somebody yesterday. I can't remember who it was. I was talking to somebody. It could have been I was talking to Caitlin about it. I'm not sure. But, you know, I was never a really big fan of the early morning weigh-ins. You know, actually, no, I remember it was one of my other teammates at the gym. Like, yeah, that's great that they had the opportunity to do that, but it kind of messes up your whole routine. It's nice to have that extra time. You just have to plan accordingly, because when you do that, it messes with your sleep schedule. You have to be there up all night trying to do that. And yeah, you have more time for recovery, but it messes up your entire schedule. And with fighting, you know, you want to be on a strict schedule with that. As long as they're not super late at night the day beforehand, so you at least have 24 hours to recover. I think it's good to have them kind of in the early afternoon, not first thing in the morning. I wasn't a fan of that. You know, maybe, you know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon sounds great. That's perfect.
Some of these guys that are watching, you know, some of the casuals or some of the people, like you said, have never done anything even remotely close to even exercising. Some people don't understand what you guys have to go through. And Jose Shorty Torres, who I'm so happy that he was able to get his debut this past weekend at UFC Utica, he shared a picture of what it was like having to lose a dramatic amount of weight in a short period of time. And it looks just so brutal to have to lose that much weight and what you're putting your body through. And then, you know, you have to get punched in the head and you're not hydrated, and it's very dangerous. So
Yeah.
what do you recommend to kind of fix this problem? Is there a solution to this problem? Because like you said, it sounds like, you know, world peace would be nice, but can you achieve it? That's literally, you know what I mean?
Exactly. No, it's basically comes down to the same thing. It comes down to the individual themselves. You know, as an institution, you know, fighting organizations, there's no rules that they can put in place for it to go through. Somebody's always going to try and manipulate it one way or another.
So how do you
It comes down
punish
to
them?
So, you know, maybe they get cut or there's a higher penalty as far as pay and stuff goes. But, it comes down to the fighter. They need to be responsible and they need to be on top. It's their business. They're professionals.
Yeah.
I've been in a spot where I haven't made weight myself, and I hate it. It's a terrible feeling, and it's something that I reevaluated after my last fight, actually. And so I've been working hard to keep my weight down. So going to a fight camp, that's not what I'm concerned about. I don't want to have to worry about that. I want to worry about my fight skills. So I've been working really hard with my strength and conditioning coaches and stuff on keeping my weight down, and that's on us. And if they take 50% of your purse, maybe that's worth it to make it as an incentive. Because when you have these fighters that are coming in, super heavy overweight, it's not a good thing for anyone in that case.
Yeah, and then they move up the rankings, and then they could be next for a title shot. It just doesn't seem fair. So let's jump into a little bit about you, because you're coming off a win right now for Invicta FC 28, and I was tuning in. That was a fun night of fights. The girl that you were fighting, did she surprise you? Was she a little stronger? I mean, let me just say this. I thought you did a great job on your feet. I mean, I don't think a lot of people were expecting you to be on your feet for that long.
I know. Most people did not think that as well. I personally would have rather it gone to the ground a little bit more. I had some injuries going into there. My last hard sparring, I actually pulled my groin muscle pretty badly, so I had like no side to side movement, and so it was really hard to do the movement. My poor coach, we were in the locker room, and he was like having to like massage it. I'm like, this looks really awkward right now, but I don't really care because I can't really move my leg. But I've been working really hard on being kind of a well-rounded fighter. And, I got typecast like you're a wrestler, so obviously you're going to go wrestle. And I kind of got that into my mind. And I'm like, nah, I want to be a complete MMA fighter. I don't want to be just a wrestler where I have to rely on that to be able to win a fight. I want to be good in all aspects. So I put a lot of emphasis on my hands, on the stand-up. And, it was good to go out there and to kind of showcase a little bit of how much work I've been putting in the gym. And, Karina was definitely tough. I knew that going in. And that's one of the things that excited me about that fight, is that she was on, a win streak. She's a tough fighter out of that Lobo gym. And I wanted to go make a statement after having kind of a really crappy performance in December. And so I would have loved to have gotten a finish on the ground and spent more time there. But that's what you get when you go a little too hard at practice and hurt yourself a week out. And I did what I can, and it felt good to go in there, especially because it was my fighting home state of Utah, and get my arm raised, and it was good. I had fun.
How did it feel to be back in Utah for Invicta FC as the co-main event?
I felt amazing. You come up in the ranks, you fight locally on the shows in your home state, and you're like, oh, this is great. I can't wait to get to the next level, fight all these crazy places. But you don't realize how much you miss fighting in your home state until you haven't done it in a while. And so it was a few years since I had the chance to. And so, I was super, super excited that Invicta was saying they're going to go back to Salt Lake. And so I was like, please, for the love of everything, I better be on that card. And, to be the co-main there and be able to do that was awesome. I walk out in my home state, my friends are there, my old teammates are there, and it made it even more worthwhile and made me even want to perform even better going out there with that atmosphere.
You looked cozy with striking, and that's something that you talked a lot about going into that fight. It was like, I think you said something like I need to get into my groove or my niche or something like that. Did you find that in that fight? Because you did look cozy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I did. You can, unfortunately, I'm kind of a weirdo. And so if you see, for the majority of that fight, I have this big, stupid grin on my face.
You were smiling a lot, especially in the third.
I was. And that's because I was so happy to be there in the cage, and I was so comfortable. And, you get that feeling where you're in the right place, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that's the feeling that I have. And I try and have, obviously you could tell I'm extremely terrible at poker because I can't hide my emotions. So I'm happy, and you're going to see that I'm happy. I'm going to have my big stupid grin on my face. And so, felt awesome to be in there. There's no other place that I wanted to be besides there. And, coming from the last few years, things were kind of like down, and then they got a little bit up, and then they went down again. Just to be in the spot where I can compete there in Utah again just felt, amazing. It wasn't like I was like, okay, is this fight over yet? I want to not be here. I could have gone for a few more rounds and been happy to be in there.
See, like all of these fights that you have, you land a lot of really nice knees. And I think people at home that aren't educated on the sport, like it would be so much different. Like if you could just feel what the fighters are going through, like the pain,
Oh God.
the tolerance of pain that you guys have to go through. And I wish they would show them something like a body chart where it's like there's been a lot of damage
Oh
to the
yeah.
head or the abdomen or something like that to help people at home kind of understand, because you land a lot of flush knee shots when you're in that clinch. You're very aggressive in the
Oh,
clinch.
like I say, that's my fight style. I like to call it aggressive hugging. Apparently, I wasn't loved enough as a child, so I try and make everyone else give me a hug, and they try and fight it, and then I fight them back, and it's what I do. I mean, you're supposed to throw knees when you hug people, right? Is that not how it works? And I can tell you, knees. If you want to know how much knees hurt, I don't know if you can see in the video, but this nice little black tooth right here, I don't know if it comes up. Sometimes it does, because I've had people comment on it in pictures. They're like, man, that chick next to fix her teeth are wrecked. And I'm like, yeah, I got kneed in the face, and my tooth got pushed back through my mouthpiece when I
Wow.
got face. 2 weeks after the fight, my tooth turned jet black, and I actually had to
Ugh.
get 3 pounds of bleaching to look this color. And so I'm like, guys, I couldn't even eat apples for like a month
That's
because
so
my tooth
brutal.
was gonna fall out. I know, and they're just like, man, get your tooth fixed. And I'm like, guys, I would very much love to, but I gotta fix the nose first, maybe do something with the cauliflower ear. We'll get to the teeth eventually. As long as they're in my mouth and they're usable, then we'll get there. It's fine.
That's another thing that people don't understand. Like you guys have to pay your coaches, your nutritionist. You have so much to do that it's like, fight. It's just my freaking tooth. Like I'm fighting. It's probably gonna get knocked out soon anyway. So why spend all this
Exactly.
money?
Exactly. And so it was funny on the show before I fought everyone, like with my fight against Sarge, actually was like, okay, Sarge, you have to hit me right here. I need you to knock this out during the fight,
So it can
because
be
then they
covered by
can
the
pay me
UFC.
and get me another shoe. Exactly. I'm like, this is how I get my tooth. And then she kicked me in the side of the face. I'm like, buddy, we talked about this. You hit me in the wrong spot.
That's
Like,
great.
come on now. I mean, one of these fights, it's gonna go, and I'm gonna be like, there you go. Can you get me another one? Maybe one of the ones that flip in and out, so I can be like a real redneck. I'm like, I lived in Utah for a while. I'm from California, but I lived in like Utah, especially South Utah County. So I got maybe a little rednecky living there. I say y'all way too much. So I'm like, if I can get one of those tooth that I can flip in and out, that could be real fun, especially around Halloweenish.
We should get Shannon Knapp to put a bounty on the tooth, so whoever actually knocks it out gets a bonus or something like
Ooh,
that. For that would be
100%. I am DeAnna. This is my tooth, and I support that decision. 100%.
Let's get that done. We'll tweet out Shannon Knapp. So before we let you go here, I know that you're probably dying to get back in there for another fight. I see you constantly tweeting about it. What's any fight news going on right now? Any time frame that we're looking at?
That is, I would love to have an answer to that question. I was hoping something up soon, and on the horizon, I'm not seeing anything. So somebody please put me in the cage. Invicta anyone. I will literally get in there with anyone at any time. Like I said, I've been trying to keep my weight down. I've been in the gym, went through Sarge's training camp, Caitlin's starting training camp. So I'm going to be in the gym helping her out. And so, I'm ready. I'm in shape. I want to fight. I even told Shannon after that in March, I was like, please, can I just fight on your next one? She's like, it's full. We can't put you on there. And I'm like, I will take a fight at any time. Like, I don't even care if it's next week. I will make weight and I will be there. And I am ready to get in there and have some fun.
Well, recently, bare knuckle fighting championships, the BKFC came out. We saw Rowdy Beck in there. Would you be interested in doing something like that, maybe?
Is there wrestling involved? Because I know I said I didn't want to be typecast, but I also really do like wrestling.
See, I think it's like you can clinch for 3 seconds, and I'm not exactly sure on all of that, but it's on
Oh,
that's kind of, you know, They just had
um,
the event this weekend, and Rowdy Beck
I
was
know,
in
I
there.
saw that. Actually, I did get a message from them actually that asked me if I was still in the UFC, and I was just like, I'm not sure about this because, boxing, I do it and I do like it. The stand-up has grown on me, but I'm more of a fan of the full MMA, and I'm at the point where I just want to compete in MMA so badly. I'm like, maybe down the road we'll consider it. I'll keep it in the back. I'm not opposed to it completely, but I really like that ground stuff, and so like if they did MMA rules with bare fist, then maybe I would consider that. But I would prefer one of them cage fights with full MMA rules.
So listen, also another question that I had on my pad was, what's the difference? This is my last question. What is the difference between the Invicta FC cage, the UFC cage octagon, and then the Ultimate Fighter cage? Is the Ultimate Fighter cage the same size as the octagon?
I believe it's the same size as the smaller one because they have two different cages for the UFC, different octagons. They have a smaller one that they use on like the Fight Pass shows and some of the fight nights, and then they have the big one that they use for the big UFCs. I believe it's the same size as the smaller one.
And that helps make for more action because you guys are kind of more phone
Exactly.
boothed in.
Which is perfect for me. That's what I like because then they can't run away from me for too long because I'll find them.
It's different if you're a
And
heavyweight, though. If you're a heavyweight, you're like a dog in a cage
oh
in
yeah,
one of those
100%.
little things.
You're like, are these reinforced? Because I feel like somebody might be going through one of those one of
And
these
that's
times.
happened back in the day.
I
So
know, right? It's scary. Actually, we forgot to latch something at our gym once, and our heavyweights just kind of barreled out of it, and I was like, ooh, it's okay. They got a lot of padding around them, so it wasn't that bad. It's fine.
So what about the Invicta FC? Is that kind of the same size as the smaller UFC octagon, or what is it? Because
I think it's a little smaller. So it's kind of hard to tell. I get hit in the head, so kind of my memory's a little bit spaced right there. But I think it's a little bit smaller than the Ultimate Fighter octagon. Um, don't quote me on that because I'm not actually sure. I should be a little bit more observant, but I'm too focused on the other person that's in there with me than kind of spatial, which maybe that's why I like Invictus Cage so much because it's even smaller because it makes it easier to hunt them down and, sit on them and assert my dominance.
So
As
I know I promised you this was the last question, but I have one more coming at you.
What's
Dana
that?
White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. I know that a lot of the people that are on that, they have 4 or 5 fights, but right now you're what, 9-3-1. If you
Yeah.
win, another fight or 2 more fights, or you're trying to get back in the UFC, obviously. So is
Yeah.
that a route that you would take, or how do you plan on getting back to the octagon?
I'll get back any way that I can. I'm at the spot right now where I just want to fight. I want to fight as often as I can, and I want to prove that I'm one of the top of the division. Before the UFC let me go, they actually ranked me at number 6. I was like, that's kind of a slap in the face. Like, don't rank me if you're gonna let me go. But
And
whatever.
it's not like you lost your fight either against
Yeah.
against Fabian.
Yeah. I mean, emotionally, I considered it a loss, but it was yeah. That's one of those fights where I'm just
Was
like,
it
ugh.
frustrating when she had her hand in the fence and all that for you?
It was frustrating because when he split us up and then took the point where she had grabbed the fence, I had finally gotten underneath and had my hands locked. So if he wouldn't pull us off the fence, I wholeheartedly believe that I would have been able to get a takedown right there. But that's when he split us up. When he put us back, you can, in theory, put you back in the same spot, but it's not necessarily the exact same. Like the littlest difference will be a takedown or not a takedown. And so you know, I wasn't at the top of my game that day. There's so much stuff that I could have done better. And in the end, that's on me for not being 100% in that fight. Whereas Melinda came in and she had the fight of her life that night, and I actually love her to death. I think she is one of my favorite people that I've ever met. And so I'm happy that she gets to still have the opportunity to fight in the UFC and to be able to be there. But for me, I'm just going to fight as much as I can. And I would never be opposed to fight on the Contender Series. You can start a little thing for that one too if you want. I don't
really
care.
like this bounty on the tooth. We got to get Shannon to get down on that. That would be fun.
Ooh, I like that. I like that idea too. If we can get Shannon on there, want to start some support to get DeAnna on the Contender Series. I loved fighting in that cage. That's a cage that I'm comfortable with since I was there for 6 weeks, and so I would jump at a chance to fight on there if I had the opportunity to. I don't care. I don't care who they put across from me in the cage. I'm gonna get in there, and I'm at the spot where I'm finally in the right place where I'm training hard. I know I'm going to give everything I can in a fight. And so, if it takes a few fights and a few wins to get back in there, we'll do it that way, Contender Series or anything. I'm ready. I can take a short notice fight if somebody gets hurt. Any opportunity that comes with, I'm ready, and that's what I'm prepping myself for every day. I'm like, as much as I didn't want to, my big country abs are turning into something a little bit more formed, so I might have to actually get the mullet if I want to keep that up. But I mean, I'm trying. I'm a fat kid at heart, so it's hard as far as that goes. I'm like, I don't think I'll ever have like the chiseled abs like Barb has, which are called Babs, by the way. Oh, her Babs. She's not Babs, but her abs are called Babs.
That's great. That's great.
Very
I loved seeing you guys all mingle on that season. There was no beef. And Dana White, when he gave you girls that speech, I was just like, damn, if that doesn't get you fired up, I mean, come on.
Oh man, it was great. That was such a good opportunity. I loved being on the show, and all of I didn't really get to associate too much with Team Gaethje, but all the girls on Team Alvarez, I love them to death. I still talk to a lot of them regularly, and seen a lot of them outside the show, and the other ones that I haven't seen, I wish I did. So I was actually, Christina Marks, me and her were actually on that same Invicta card, which is awesome because, I love her to death. Actually, when I got done with the show, the next day after getting picked up after the show, I actually drove down and hung out with her for a day, and we went out to eat in San Diego because I think she's awesome. And, it's great to be able to get those kind of connections and to meet those kind of people. And I'm so glad there's not drama because I don't think I could have handled that because I know I'm never the bully. I physically cannot be the bully, but I'm easily bullied. I don't know if that's because I was a fat kid growing up and so I was bullied. They're like, this weird, awkward kid who doesn't talk, little butterball. And I'm just like, I'll show you guys one day. But I'm working on it. We'll get there. But,
did you die when DC called Lauren Barb? Like, did you die when that happened?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was too good. It was far too good.
I couldn't believe it.
Oh man, that was one of my favorite moments. I'm like, that's so good.
Just in case everybody doesn't know, before we sign off here, during that season, one of the standout highlights on my book was when Eddie Alvarez and Lauren get in this little fight, and then he calls Lauren Barb, and then it happens in the fight that Lauren had against Barb. After the fight, DC is going to interview her, and DC calls her Barb. It was just, I asked Jillian about it. She was like, me and Rachel literally fell to the floor dying. Like, it was the funniest thing ever.
It's too good. And I'm like, they're not even similar. They're not even close. I'm like, they don't even train at the same place or anything. I'm like, you guys are killing me right now. Like, it's so funny. I'm like, and Eddie didn't even do it on purpose in the show. It's kind of like, it just kind of slipped out because I remember sitting in the locker room and I just heard, Barb's going to the blue team, and I'm like, Barb? What? I'm so confused. Like, and then Barb, it's funny because Barb was in the shower and she's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Like,
so great.
Oh man, that was a good. Like, probably a little better if I wasn't, prepping for a fight or anything, but. It was good. It was a good experience. Eddie still thinks it's hilarious. So
yeah, that was a great season. So, DeAnna, thank you so much for joining us here on Pure Evil. Man, we have to have you back on. We have to get behind this bounty for the tooth. We have to get you on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. or even, you know, just a fight for Invicta FC, that's a step in the right direction. God has a plan, and it's coming. It will fall into place for you. So thank you so much for joining me here today. Last but not least, can you say your name and you're listening to Pure Evil MMA?
My name is DeAnna Bennet, and you're listening to Pure Evil MMA.
Thank you, DeAnna. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Have a good day.